So hello everyone, my name is Marta Iffland, and today I'm gonna tell you a very short story about a very simple idea how to generate even more value by combining two ideas, minimum viable product and Scrum. I'm also gonna share with you two lessons I learned by applying this model. The first one was developers are actually smarter than managers, at least if it comes to how design work and structure the teams. And the second lesson was customers are usually lazy and they don't want to provide feedback if they don't see an urgent need for that. And the opposite is true as well. Okay, there was also the third lesson, and believe me, you can have a lot of fun by proving that you're wrong, but you have to do it early enough. Okay, but let me tell you the story about an audio platform developed by Harman. Harman is one of the biggest players on the audio market. You probably know the brands like JBL and AKG. But they are also a very important supplier for the German automotive industry for car entertainment systems. And around about 3 years ago, some smart guys and ladies at Harman company decided to create a very broad platform where they can put all of their technology, innovative products, and so on, and then just to use this platform, customize it, and deliver to the automotive customers. Nice idea. They also decided to put the whole development to the research team, so to build a silo, because you probably have a similar picture in your mind. Research means a lot of ideas, means innovation. And then what they created was another silo where they just said, okay, we have some engineers, they are doing the customization. So let's call it custom design. Okay, and what happened after 1 year when I joined Harman? That was a little bit, let's say, disappointing. So it was a kind of patchwork of customer hacks on a very broad platform of technical depth. So believe me, none of the basic functionalities has been developed in a proper way. So forget about testing, forget about documentation. There was basically nothing what we wanted to achieve. And the question was how to make this product great again. We started with a kind of visualization. So we tried to define our what we called bad karma. So model the system, try to figure out what are the negative patterns here. And the result was actually not surprising. So the main problem was that the research developers, they never touched base with the customer, so they were not able to provide feedback, to get the feedback. They just got some pieces of information from the customization department. So accordingly, they were never able to structure the product backlog, to create good user stories, and so on. Having this information on the table, people looked at me and said, okay, Marta, that's obvious. What we need is Scrum. Scrum is about high-quality products. Scrum is about customer collaboration. Scrum is about adaptivity and so on. But how to combine actually the very broad research approach we need with the very focused custom approach? And I just said, okay, guys, have you ever heard about minimum viable product? And lucky me, they understood this idea. They liked it. And they extended my contract so we could start with the implementation of this concept. Where we start was actually to create the teams, and we actually just asked the people, okay guys, let's organize, self-organize yourself, whatever makes sense for the product. And believe me, after nearly 20 minutes, we had 6 teams, some of them co-located, some of them relocated, some of them distributed, sorry. And also they also created a communities of practice. So also this cross-functional thing was established. Remember lesson number 1, developers smarter than managers in terms of how to design work. And we also decided just to formulate our sprint goals as a hypothesis, and then to split this hypothesis between the teams. One example here, it's not the major functionality, but this one is not such a technical one. That's why I chose this one, because I think it's easier to understand. So what happened here, the CPO, the chief product owner, created a hypothesis. Here the hypothesis was, okay, if customer have to decide if they want a customized feature or not, they also want to have an estimation of the ROI. So that was the hypothesis. Then we decided, we just split this hypothesis between the teams. And at the end of the sprint, if the hypothesis was true, we marked it green. And if the hypothesis was false, we just marked it red. Red doesn't mean the team failed. Red just means, okay, the hypothesis was wrong, so we have to adjust the direction. Actually pretty simple. What do you think what was the biggest challenge we had here? It's also written in the last line. Yeah, exactly, that's the point. And believe me, please keep in mind, we are in the German automotive industry, so really back to the 80s, and I mean 80s, 19th century. So it took us more or less 10 sprints really to learn how to listen to the customers and how to figure out what they really need. So how to formulate, so what is the proper hypothesis? Because the lesson number 2, if it's really an urgent need for them to test it, they will test it and they will provide you feedback immediately. So as soon as the product is released or as soon as they have the first minimum viable version. If not, it's also a very good indicator for us to say, okay, let's stop it here, it's not generating value. To make the long story short, what we achieved in the last 2 years in this project. So basically we created a self-emerging loop for business value. We were able to provide, so when I left the company last month, we were able to provide up to 3 minimum viable products per sprint. And we increased the business value per point by a factor of 3. And we learned how to have a lot of fun by proving that we are actually wrong. Thank you very much. Any questions?
You said the teams were allowed to select their own hypothesis?
A hypothesis, so it has been delivered from the main hypothesis.
Okay.
And they could decide, okay, if they want to work on the hypothesis number 1, 2, or 3. And
okay.
Also reformulate the hypothesis a little bit.
So within a prescribed pool of possibilities.
That's correct.
That no one had otherwise prioritized, just pick one.
Yeah. So basically the product owner, so the chief product owner was responsible for the main hypothesis, then the other product owners for the separate hypothesis, and then the teams could just say, okay, we prefer to work on this one because we have the expertise for that.
It sounded like in the beginning you couldn't deliver any minimum viable product per sprint. And now
not even per more sprints.
Now you're delivering it 3, and you've increased the value per point by 3. So it sounds like it's a minimum of 9x times value delivery.
But we started to measure the business value per product after the course you did in Munich in December 2017, because then I learned about this concept and then I started to measure it.
And did this have any impact on revenue? Is there any financial metric that you could track that?
Yes, so I cannot track the direct financial metrics. I just can say, okay, if the customer accepted the products or not, because we are still in the very, very early development stage. But what I heard from the sales department was like, okay, they are accepting a lot of features, so they are getting more and more orders, but I was not able to have a look into the financial data, unfortunately.
So how many people and how many teams were involved in this program?
Let's go to the previous slide. So basically 6 teams, Bangalore, as the name says. Team Tool, so they call themselves like this. Wood is a Polish team. GE, so German efficiency team from Munich. Greek Geek, and Buddha, so in Hungary. So 6 teams basically.
So is this about like 40, 50 people or?
30, so 5 people more or less. Some teams were set by 6 people, some of them 4, but more or less 5 people. Thank you. Thank you.